So, welcome to the CTO Dose at VMworld 2019. My name is Joep Piskar. I'm joined by Bharath from HP. Welcome.
Thank you.
We're going to talk about DHEI from Nimble. And I got to say, I'm curious. Start with what is it? Because I think I know, but I don't know for sure.
Absolutely. So we just recently announced HP Nimble Search DHCI back in Discover this year. So it's nothing but a disaggregated HCI where we kind of give the the flexibility of a converged infrastructure
Right.
over the simplicity of hyperconverged,
Okay.
right? And this is predominantly for for traditional hyperconverged infrastructure, which runs on predictable workloads, whereas with DHCI, we can cater to all unpredictable workloads now.
Okay, so disaggregated, help me out. What does that mean?
Absolutely. So the problem with hyperconverged usually is, hey, I'm not able to scale my compute, I'm not able to scale my storage separately. So we want to get away from that and say, okay, you can scale as required. But in this case, we're going to do that with the industry-leading servers, the HP ProLiant, and with the simple management that Nimble Storage provides, right?
Right.
So you can have independent server nodes that you can scale. You can also add Nimble arrays as and when your requirement grows.
Okay, so let me get this right. So this is existing, or new HP servers, ProLiant servers, as well as Nimble storage. So how does this work? I'm a customer. I've got this running in production, either the storage or either the servers, maybe even both. How do I start using this DHCI stuff?
It's a great question. So we get this often, right? So the uniqueness about the DHCI solution is we can do it both brownfield as well as greenfield, right? So let's say you're an existing customer using ProLiant servers today, and you want to leverage this DHCI solution. All you have to do is basically get the Nimble array, and we have what is called as a stack manager, which automatically detects the servers in environment, and then we add it to the stack.
Right.
The only caveat is you need to have a ProLiant Gen 9 or Gen 10 for you to add to the stack. But other than that, we basically add, it's basically as simple as plug it in, discover, and configure, right?
Okay.
And it's all done through a centralized console as well. So it's pretty straightforward.
So help me out here, because what I see is that, this works for new customers as well as existing. Of course, you need supported hardware, but how does this work from a technical standpoint?
Absolutely.
Do you have to install and configure this yourself? Is it automated? And maybe even the biggest question here is, how do I buy it? How do I license it?
Yeah, so our point of view in this is we want you to manage this from the vCenter and not even go in logging into your arrays or server hardware, right? So gone are those days where you manage them as individual components. So with full stack, what happens is we discover, we manage, we create volumes, and with vVols coming into the picture with storage, we actually leverage storage-based policy-based management, which actually automates most of the LUN management as well, right? There's no more LUNs with vVols. So all of these capabilities put together along with vCenter and the Nimble plugin itself, it gives you a lot of flexibility in managing configured environment.
Right.
And the other cool thing is we've added what is called as a configuration checker. So let's say you're in a brownfield environment and you're not confident if this DHCI solution is going to work well. What we do is we do a pre-check on the environment with the config checkers with the best practices that we have. And if you find any gotchas in your environment, we actually tell you to fix it before we go and deploy the stack.
Right.
So I think that's pretty innovative in the way that we do that, and it's all automated through the full stack manager.
Right. So that gives the customer the flexibility to use what they have. It adds an automation layer to configure it. So what about like the day two and those operations? Does it keep the hardware and configuration in sync? Does it prevent like configuration drift? Maybe preventing admins to change certain settings?
Yeah, so we do give you the flexibility to change what you have. So for example, if you're adding new servers as well, you can configure whatever SKUs you want. We're not stopping you from doing it. It's as flexible as you get, right? The other thing is with Nimble, the simplicity of Nimble is carried forward here, and it's pretty much a single flat SKU, all-inclusive licensing, right? We don't charge for the software stack on top; it comes with the product.
So this is free HCI.
Correct. You can call it that way as well.
Right.
So yeah, the software stack basically comes with the product. All you have to buy is basically figure out which array model you want and which server configuration you need,
Right.
and then you're off to the races.
And so, in terms of scalability, I'm presuming a similar model. You can scale compute, you can scale storage
Correct.
separately.
Correct. So we go in a pod model where you can actually scale up to 22 servers as of today. In a single pod, you can have a nimble array attached to it, and then you can scale multiple pods together, right?
Yeah.
So a nimble array can have a group of nimble arrays, can be 4 of them, right? It can be managed together as one. So if you can scale up to 4 pods, which is 88 servers.
Yeah.
So I think that's good enough for most environments. But we are in the process of making higher number of server compute nodes in the stack itself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so, 88 servers in a pod, or in a configuration, I should say.
Yeah.
So, that targets the smaller customers out there. I mean, this is not going to be the big enterprises running thousands of physical servers.
Yeah.
So, with that in mind, what kind of use cases are you aiming this for? What type of applications? What are customers using you for?
Yeah, I mean, from the days we've released it, we've seen a lot of use case for VDI based workloads. It's because they want this simplicity for management along with scalability, because VDI is kind of unpredictable as well in some cases. So that's why I mentioned, this solution fits into most of the unpredictable workload schema, right?
Yeah.
So it plays well into those markets, and that's been one of example of a big driver for this type of solution.
Right. Yeah, VDI makes sense. And I get what you're saying in terms of predictability versus unpredictable. I mean, you can scale this in 2 separate axes.
Mm-hmm.
So that means you can take on that unpredictable workload
Mm-hmm.
much easier than in a completely integrated solution.
Correct.
So tell me a little about that predictability or that unpredictability, how that scaling works,
Yeah.
with real customer workloads.
Yeah, so the other big thing about unpredictability and making it predictable is with InfoSight, right? HP InfoSight. So we've had traditional integrations with VMware environments with what we call as cross-stack analytics,
Mm-hmm.
where we can actually pretty much tell you, latency and IOPS, where it's coming from the storage array. But since we've built an integrated HP InfoSight into servers, specifically ProLiant in this case, we have much more data that's coming in. So now we can actually pinpoint crucial information, right? We call this cross-stack recommendation.
Mm-hmm.
We can actually tell you where the pain points are, where the problem is.
Yeah.
So we have it like color-coded, like let's say if it's a VM issue, it'll be blue, and if it's storage issue, it's green, right?
Yeah.
So it's easily, we call this implicit recommendations. And we actually tell you the root cause, and these are the steps that you need to take for you to even go back to a pristine environment. So
Right.
those kind of integrations makes unpredictable workloads more predictable in this scenario as well.
Yeah, that's a good point. And I'm assuming this, has some integration in terms of tiering your storage as well.
So in Nimble, the tiering is a little different because we actually don't do tiering. It's all flash, and the Castle algorithm itself manages that for you because we have built-in QoS, auto QoS. And with InfoSight, what happens is InfoSight actually gives you, let's say you want to do manual QoS, InfoSight gives you information the last 24 hours based on what your usage is, and we give you recommendations based on that. So it's a very powerful tool itself. And so the point of being is it has to be low touch,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
We don't want the user to go in and work with the area. We want everything to be automated. So that's what this solution provides with that.
Right.
Yeah.
And so what about integration with, Cloud Volumes or offloading it to the cloud?
Absolutely. So everything that Nimble has today in terms of integrations in the ecosystem plays into this solution as well. And one of that is Cloud Data Services powered by Cloud Volumes. So let's say you're running on-premises workload with DHCI, you can always move workloads to Cloud Volumes. It's basically replicated with Cloud Volumes,
Nice.
right? And then you can attach it to any public cloud of your choice, let it be Amazon EC2 or Azure VM. We also recently announced Google Cloud integration, so you can even leverage that. The other unique thing with the solution is, unlike other public cloud vendors, you can bring back the data, right? You can replicate the data back on premises. So let's say the cloud solution doesn't work out for you, you always have an opt-out in our case.
Yeah.
And there's not much egress charges as the other vendors, charge you. So that's another cool thing that you can have this type of solution. So, yeah.
Right, so let's switch gears a little bit. One of the advantages of doing HCI is kind of that single throat to strangle, right?
Mhm.
Single channel for support, single channel to buy it. So with this DHCI, I'm assuming the support will be simplified as well.
Absolutely. So it's going to follow the same support model that Nimble has leveraged.
Mhm.
So I don't know if you guys have had experience with Nimble Storage, but it's one of the world-class storages support system that we have for our storage infrastructure. So DHCI would play into the same model, right? It's one support vendor, and if you call our support engineers who are pretty much level 3 engineers,
Mhm.
and you can pretty much call them, somebody would pick up a call within the next 10 to 15 seconds, right?
Yeah.
And that person would be able to help you troubleshoot the entire stack. Let it not be HP servers and storage, it could also be a network issue where we would be able to troubleshoot the issue
Yeah.
with that layer. So yeah, it's pretty simple. It's again a flat support SKU that we use for Nimble, and that's pretty much the same for DHCI as well.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Nice. All right. So what about the operational experience, right? So you mentioned this is simple. This is a single SKU, single support. There's got to be some story about simple operations as well.
Absolutely, and that's the constant undercurrent in this solution, right? So as a VI admin, you really don't want to spend time building infrastructure, right? When you can do something else, cater to your DevOps or your engineering team, and that's what we want the solution to be for them, right? And that's why all the VM admins are very familiar with VMware vCenter, and vCenter is pretty much 80-90% of the market, right, in terms of on-prem infrastructure. So we are basically using that as a focal point to say, okay, since you're familiar with this tool, we're now going to introduce a new tool for you, leverage your vCenter and manage your stack from
Yeah.
the vCenter, right? And some of the things that we've built into this pretty cool, like, you just have to attach your rack and stack your servers
Mhm.
into your network, and we automatically discover those servers for you within the vCenter plugin that we have.
Right.
So that's how unique the solution is, and leveraging existing infrastructure tools that we
Yeah.
use every day.
So no going back and forth between different consoles, for setting it up, for configuring it, then managing it from vCenter. It's all from within a single pane of glass.
That's correct. That's correct. Yes.
And so, talk to me about the the architecture of that single management interface. How does it work technically?
So what we do is when you first install the DHCI solution, we ship the stack manager with the array. So the intelligence is built into the Nimble array itself, right? So what happens there is, let's say you're adding a new server. In the case of Greenfield, we actually ship the server with OVAs built into it. So we actually take it to the extent of installing ESXi, could be 6.5, could be 6.7, we support both. It's automatically installed on all the servers. All that we require from the customer is a set of IP addresses, right?
Yeah.
Once you give me that, I will basically IP those servers, install ESX on them. We even go to the extent of creating volumes on the array and creating initiated groups and attaching those hosts to those volumes, and you're off and running,
Nice.
right? So from stacking to the entire visit and setup takes 15 minutes,
Nice.
and you're ready to go. So that's how simple the stack manager makes it.
Well, that sounds great. Right.
Yeah.
I've learned a bunch about the DHCI, and for me, from the CTO guys, I think this is it. I think we learned a lot about DHCI, and we'll see you in the next interview.
All right, thank you very much.